Hello and welcome to the Petticoated Swashbuckler. My name is Maren, and today we are slipping into something a little more comfortable. I am in the process of creating some 1920s clothing. Some 1920s, a 1920s wardrobe, kind of. Last time we made some combinations. Today I thought we could make some slips, and I have two different kind of patterns is the wrong word, recipes sort of how to create a slip, and they are a little bit different in style, so I thought I'd try them both and see which one I like the best. The one I'm going to try first is from this book that I have bought on Etsy from Vintage Patterns. I'll link them down below. It's a great book. It's a really good resource, and you're going to be seeing this a lot, because this is basically a sort of guide for young girls on how to create your own clothes, and it has an introduction that goes through different kinds of thread and why cotton became popular. It has instructions on how to create your own bloomers and your own like dress patterns, and it includes instructions on how to create your own slip, how to draft a costume slip pattern. So that's what I'll be doing. I will draft the pattern. It looks like a lot of straight angles, so I probably won't be like making the pattern, but I'll probably make like a tiny version of it just on a small piece of paper, and then just use my rulers and the fabric. My fabric, hang on, is gonna be this. This is Rayon satin. The person that I'm going to be portraying is not someone who has a lot of money. She's a domestic servant. So she probably wouldn't have had underwear in or anything really in any sort of expensive fabric. She wouldn't have had stuff in silk. She could have used cotton. I don't think she would have used linen in the 1920s. But rayon, being a man-made fibre but made from cellulose, was a very good alternative. It was a little bit cheaper, but it was sometimes called artificial silk, so it's quite silky in the way that it behaves and looks, and it drapes really nicely. And I think the point of a slip is to have something between your underwear and your clothing to make the clothing sort of fall and drape nicely on top. So I think this will do very well. So I have my fabric, I have my kind of recipe. I now need some measurements. Hang on. Ta-da! This is my corset brassiere, which I'm very happy with. I didn't show the making of this because I kind of needed it in a hurry to show it off and to use it for some other stuff. So I didn't have the time to sit down, plan the shots, make sure I got all the steps. I kind of just went in, made it, done. But it's very simple, very simple. It's a Mrs. Depew pattern. I'll link it down below. And the main point of this garment, which is a very strange garment, the main point of it is to flatten my bust, which if you see in profile, it's darn good at doing. It's not a lot of boob left, this is a very strange garment for me, because I've kind of only reenacted periods where you should have as much chest as possible, whereas here it's gone. But it's interesting. I think it'll work. I'm pretty happy with it. So what I need to do now is I need to take some measurements. I need to measure across my bust, and then from my underarm down to my hip, and then the entire length of the garment. I'm not quite sure where on my hip I want it to sit. probably about my hip bones, but I will, I'll cut it a little too long because it's easier to like slice up. Sorry, a little too high, because it's easier to slice off bits if it's too high than to add on if it's too low. So yeah, let's do some measurements. Okay, so I have my measurements, I have my recipe. Let's do some pattern drafting. This is where we're at. Sorry about the weird camera angle. I'm trying to like let you see as much of my dress as possible. Hang on. Don't know if that was much better. Such a weird period fashion-wise. But I do have a slip-ish. And I like the way like the hips are at. I like my little hip pleats. I like I mean, the fabric is horrible to work with, but it's really nice to wear. I'm happy with the width. I've just pinned my shoulder straps in for now, so I'll need to stitch those down, and I'll need to, can you see, I'll need to take in a little bit at the sides, because this is just like, it was out here, and that was not flattering. The more 1920s stuff I make, the more I think the key is to like fit the chest, and then let everything just hang, and that will look quite nice. So yeah, I'm really happy. All right, I am now ready for slip number 2, and that's from it's actually like a booklet that I bought from Mrs. Depew. Again, links down below. Who it's, I think it looks like a small booklet, or maybe something that was part of a magazine once, and it's how to drape a magic slip for a summer frock. And I thought it was fun to, like, the last one was a bit drafty, you know, well, not drafty because that's a different word, but it was, I drafted it, you know, to a certain extent. This is much more draping. So is it drafty or is it draping? You know. The first thing it tells me to do is to cut 2 lengths of my fabric. So I've done that. And then this is supposed to be draped on the form. And because draping on yourself, especially on your back, is very difficult, I have required help of my little assistant here, who will be stand-in for me, and then we'll see how it goes. The first thing he tells me to do is I should pin a 2-inch hem at the top. But I ran through and it doesn't want you to do anything other than like pin it, and then when you're done draping you're gonna do like make the hem, like stitch the hem, and I can't really see why I shouldn't just go ahead and stitch the hems. So I think that's actually what I'm going to start with. I'm going to start by making the hems, just folding this down twice and making a little nice sort of edge here. So I'll do that, come right back to you. Ooh, white out. Hi. So that's hemmed. And one of these I'm just going to put to the side for now because that's going to be the front and we're going to start with the back. And the instructions tell me to start by folding it in half. And then I'm going to pin like the back fold along the back of the form. So let's do that. Now I should bring the edges around to the underarm easily but not loosely and pin from the top downward to a low waistline. Okay. Next, from the selvage, cut the right angles through both thicknesses to within 1.5 inches of the pinned line and then up to the top. Alright, so we're already at cutting. This is a very different way of working with fabric, I have to say. It's like point 1, point 2, point 3 is cutting. It's very, very soon. A little too soon for my liking, but okay. Unpin the slip, but before unfolding, mark the center back line. That's fine, I've done that. Okay, so we'll unpin the slip. By the way, I know it's a really bad habit to be putting pins in my mouth. I'm aware that it's a bad habit. And I'm sorry, but I'll probably keep on doing it because I've done it for years now. Open the fold, replace on the center back line. Okay, so now I'm supposed to like place it, fold it out and place it on the back. Now the thing with this pattern or this slip is that it's not stitched together in the sides. The extra width at the hips comes from you kind of just add some length. I'll show you in a minute, but you kind of just add some length to the front and some length to the back, and then that's it. And you don't really get, there's no pleats at the hips, there's no gathering. Alright, so what he wants me to do now is to take this bit that I cut off and just like move this to the front. Now this is too much because this will go all the way over to this bit here. I'm sorry it's so difficult to see, it's black on black, I did not think about that. If I move to the other side, hang on. Alright, should have thought about before. So this side now goes this way, but this is too far because this is the mid-front. So what the instructions want me to do is to like make a mark and then cut down. It should be about like here-ish. It also says 7 inches, so I might just, you know, why make it easy when you can't make it difficult? This is so weird. This is so strange to me. Alright, so we can discard that. And that's like one side and one skirt done from the back. I just need to repeat this. I think one of the reasons why it's so weird to me is because it feels so haphazard. Like, oh, and then you just like measure-ish and then cut. Ooh, then you like, it feels like one of those videos where you have someone like, I'm going to show you a hack to make a really nice bedspread, and then the hack is that they buy a big bedspread and then cut it in half and like staple down the edges. I'm not really a super fan of those kinds of hacks. And this feels very hacky, but we'll see. It might work. I was so much more comfortable with the last method, but actually, considering the fabric, like this is very heavy, very kind of fluid. It just slides around when you work with it. It was more difficult to like lay it flat and try and measure and cut centimeters than it is to just place it on the foam, pin, try, done, you know? So maybe that's why they started doing this, because the fabrics that we were using were not behaving otherwise. Basically done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other bit and I'm going to do the same for the front. So for the front, these kind of flaps will go towards the back. And then it won't be stitched together down the sides. It'll be stitched together from here to here. And then this will just be left loose. But because you'll have so much fabric going front and then so much fabric going to the back, in theory you won't end up with a very sort of thigh-high slit. We'll see. Okay, this is interesting. I remember reading that women's clothing in the 1920s did not use darts. But the instructions here tell me, like, do you remember on the back side, we started at the top and we pinned down? Here you're supposed to start at the bottom and pin up. And the reason is because when you get this point, you'll have a little dart. Like, that makes total sense because it needs to go over your chest. But like so, you have a tiny little dart. Isn't that lovely? So draping is done. It is, I mean, I like it. I think this works. On a sort of weird level. I'm very excited to see how it'll look when I'm like done with it and can put it on. This is, as far as I can tell from the instructions, what I need to do now is I need to unpin all of this, and then I need to make the bust darts. I need to stitch the bust darts. And then I'm going to stitch the side, like underarm seam, down to here. Again, the instructions want you to use French seams, but this... Oh, sorry, Siri just entered the conversation. It wants me to use French seams, but I actually think... Oh, I'm not sure. I think I'll use just seams and then zigzag over the edge like I did with the other one, because the fabric is still very, like, even if it works so much better for this sort of draping than it did for the kind of flat out measure cut thing that we did with the last slip, it still ravels like nobody's business. And I mean, you can't see my floor here, and that's a good thing because it is covered in like dust, black dust from this. Just tiny threads have just kind of gone with the wind. But yes, that's my plan. Stitch these down, and then I need to hem the kind of the extensions, the hip extensions, and down, and then I can stitch these in.